is mostly regarded as inferior and somewhat substandard, and that's for a number of reasons. However, township school learners like Ndebele, who is Gauteng's top student, continue to dispel those perceptions and myths. So we have Gauteng MEC for Education, Barbara Creecy, joining us this morning to tell us about what they're doing right in previously disadvantaged schools to unearth such talent and excellence as the likes of Ndebele. So let's begin. A very good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us, MEC.
Morning, Ayanda.
I think the fact that we're lauding Praise's success so much and that we're celebrating so much, that it's unexpected. We've come to, whether rightly or wrongly so, we've come to understand township schools are somewhat substandard. So the fact that we're celebrating as excellence means that it's something we didn't anticipate. What were the problems in those schools that would perhaps make one believe the way that we used to?
Look, in Gauteng in 2009, we had 300 schools that were performing below 60% pass rate. And when we analysed the problems there, we found a whole range of issues. But I think central were perhaps three factors. The first would be that we were not covering the whole of the curriculum each and every year. So children had not only backlogs in their matric year, but they had backlogs from many other years. Secondly, because of the many curriculum changes we'd had in the past, educators were not feeling confident to teach and assess the entire curriculum. And because they weren't feeling confident, they were only testing learners on those areas that they were happy with. But in a matric paper, you're going to get questions on the whole curriculum. So I think these were issues that we have tried to address in the Senior Secondary School Improvement Project. There were also environmental problems, and of course some of those problems still continue, but two of the key ones we've tried to tackle are the issues of protecting the teaching day, protecting what President Zuma has called the 7 hours of learning and teaching, and trying to make sure that learners and teachers arrive at school on time and that we cut down on absenteeism.
What about resources? Do they play a role in the furthering of education in township schools? Do they have enough books, pens, etc., in order to have an environment that's conducive to learning?
Well, I think that in any public education system, you will never have all the resources that you would want to have. But I think in Gauteng, we are fortunate in that we don't, for example, have mud schools. Obviously, we still need more of our schools to have science laboratories and libraries. But generally, we also haven't had major problems with regard to textbooks. I think generally we manage to order and deliver on time. But yes, resourcing is crucial.
I want to speak to you about the difference between government schools when it comes to the ones in the suburbs and the township in just a moment. So let's shelve that for a minute. I want to see how we've begun to turn the tables in previously disadvantaged schools. These matric results have shown quite an emergence of people from those backgrounds who are coming up and showing that they're cut right up there with the rest of the schools in national positions.
Well, in 2010, we adopted the Senior Secondary School Improvement Program. And what that program did was, firstly, there was a large educator training component. So helping educators through in-service training to understand the curriculum, key concepts in the curriculum. Secondly, working to improve school management, both to make sure that educators and learners arrive at school on time, that school starts on time, but also to monitor the implementation of the curriculum. So we've set up milestones for every subject, for every grade, and in every month of the year we hold meetings with the principals of these schools and we check how far have we gone. Standardizing testing and assessment has been very important. You know, the National Minister has introduced the annual national assessment tests. We've also standardized assessment in these schools. We produce provincial papers, provincial tests, so that we make sure that learners are being assessed on the entire curriculum. Of course, we've also introduced the additional classes on Saturday mornings and also in school holidays. And that really is intended to reinforce what we're doing in the classroom during the week. So we've done a lot of work over the last couple of years making sure that educators are teaching in the classroom what we are going to reinforce on the weekend. So I think that while the most well-known aspect of this program is the additional classes, in fact, there's been a major attempt to improve the content of what goes on in the classrooms of those 384 schools that are participating in the program.
And the difference then between your former Model C schools and the schools in the township, as far as government schools are concerned, is that still vast in your opinion?
Look, in 2009, there was a 24% differential between the pass rate in former Model C schools and township schools. I think what we're excited about this year is that we have shrunk that differential to 9%. So we're moving in the correct direction. I don't think anybody thinks there's no problems in township schools anymore. But we're excited about the fact that 217 of these schools now have a pass rate over 80%. We're also excited about the fact that there are only 20 public schools in the province that are still below 60%. Whereas, as I said in the beginning, we were looking at 300 below the 60% mark in 2009.
Yeah, indeed, I can remember growing up in the township, and there's a huge exodus of every parent wanting to make sure that their children go to the former Model C schools, because that's where we perceived is second best to private facilities. If you can get your child into a school in the suburbs, there's a future for them. So now it seems that it's changing. The township schools are coming up there. You said the gap between the pass rate of the Model C, former Model C schools and township schools is 9%. We're looking forward to closing that gap even further, I'd imagine.
Absolutely, definitely. I think that for myself, the way in which we judge the department is the extent to which we're going to get these schools to perform.
Indeed. Thank you so much for joining us, the Gauteng Education MEC, Barbara Creecy, just giving us some good news. A tough road ahead for her, but indeed, I'm sure she has the support of all Gautengs, if I can say Gautengelings. That's a new phrase. All right.